Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dan McCormick. We are on the Greatest Salesman podcast, and I have an extraordinary guest today. Everybody knows every week is Wisdom Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to have so much fun discussing that incredible journey that every salesperson takes, outlined so beautifully 50 plus years ago in The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. This show is sponsored by the Og Mandino Company. We hope if you're new to the show that you'll feel free to put comments in the box. We go live every week. We're live with comments, with questions. Tell us who you are and where you're from. If you listen 6 days from now, 6 weeks, or 6 months from now, we hope you'll like the show. We hope you'll comment on the show, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or on the podcast site. We hope you'll certainly give us a rating and a review, and certainly feel free to share it to your Facebook page if you feel that value. It is going to be a thrilling day simply because I get to invite a friend of mine that I've now known for 18 years. She's none other than Eileen Williams from San Diego, California. Eileen, welcome to that chair every week that's filled by the greatest salespeople in the world.
Well, thanks, Dan. What an honor to be with you today.
Well, I know that you have done extraordinary things in your life. You have built businesses around the globe with thousands and tens of thousands of people. I wonder, before we talk about kind of how we know each other and some of the other details, if you wouldn't do what I love to do and just start off, your success is so extraordinary, known around the globe. You speak around the globe. What are the three things that you think you could share with our audience today that shape your life or each and every day of your life?
Well, that's a really great question. And I thought about it, and I really boil it down to three things. First of all, my number one is that I have a strong faith in the higher power. And I know that all the good that goes on in the world, there's equal evil. And there's always that going on. And that really drives me. Secondly, I'm extremely grateful to the people that have gone before me, not only my own heritage, my family. I'm so blessed with the parents I had and my family, but I just look at my country, the people that founded our country. I think of our company, the people that founded our company, the opportunity. I'm so grateful for all the people, Nathan Ricks, all the people that have paved the road before me. And I feel an obligation, I feel like I want to make them proud. And the third thing that drives me, and probably is one of my super top motivators, is that I believe that as humans, we all are using a very small portion of our potential. And what drives me every single day is a thirst to learn and grow and develop myself. And that is something I have never been able to figure out how to teach people to get that. But I definitely have it, and it's a hunger, it's a thirst for learning. And I'm an avid learner, and I'm always on all of your programs. I'm on everything that I can be on, that I can squeeze into my life.
Wow. I think that anyone listening for the first time that might be new to the podcast is really going to take value in that. And I'm like you. I think that it's hard to know why you thirst the way you do. I'll say the same for me. It's, I think 5 a.m. this morning I was up and I already had the wisdom literature pouring into my mind. And I'm thinking about how do I be my best today? And I think I really love how you just embodied that third point there, or the thirst, but going backwards now to this point number two, being grateful. How do you go about that gratitude? Maybe besides prayer or pondering or meditating, how do you think you go about that gratitude for those that have gone before you, family, friends, high achievers, etc.?
Well, I start my day a little bit earlier than 5 a.m.
Whoa!
Anyway,
I'm sleeping in. I gotta get up earlier.
I drive my husband crazy. Anyway, first thing I do is I have a gratitude journal, and every single day The first thing I do is I write about a paragraph of all the things and all the people and the situations, all the blessings that I can think of that I'm grateful for at that very moment.
Wow.
I do that every day, and it keeps me really grounded because we all have, even difficulties, we can be grateful for. We can be grateful for challenges and obstacles that are going to help us become better, that are going to help us become stronger. So we can be grateful for literally anything, and that's what I am constantly working on to stay in that place of gratitude. So anytime I'm challenged with whatever in the business, I think of, okay, well, number one, everyone's doing their best that they know how to do. And so I'm grateful to work with people that are doing their best always.
I love how you said that. And, isn't it interesting too, that when we look back on history, we can say that, hey, that's not a new thing. I mean, we can look at Ben Franklin, how he, looked at his life on a daily basis. We can look at how Og set up the greatest secret in the world, which is the journalized version of the greatest salesman. And that is really a fantastic thing to remind people. I remember also a gentleman I had on one of my shows a couple of years ago. He wrote a book called Big Ideas, and he actually talks about the science of what happens when you put pen to paper, how it changes the brain. And you're actually working on all of those neurological factors first thing in the morning. I really think that people can gain value out of that instead of skipping that and maybe picking up a phone and an email and all that kind of stuff. So eyes awake, thoughts start, journal opens. Is that kind of how the day starts?
Absolutely. And right after my gratitude paragraph, I do my 5 goals that I'm focused on, and they have to be really big goals that I don't really know how to achieve. And Brian Tracy, who I don't know, I'm sure you all know who Brian Tracy is. He taught me that on one of his goal lessons. He said, just physically write down every single day your top 5. And the weirdest thing is, you guys are going to be shocked, it all starts to come true. It is crazy when you put your pen to paper and you start putting down your goals every single day. Because what I was doing before is I would write it. I know probably a lot of us do this, write it and put it up there or whatever around. But it's physically, what is it every day? And it changes. They don't change, but the priority sometimes changes. Like number 1 sometimes is different.
Okay, so you'll move the numbers around. They'll go up and down based on the day, the time, the goal, what's in front of you, what you're thinking and feeling.
Yep, but they're all happening.
Yes, that's really outstanding. So when you get into the day and you go back now, because we've known each other for 18 years, and you know that I've been this greatest salesman, greatest secret kind of, it was just the first book that was put in my hand. So I mean, that's how the relationship started. And I wasn't a reader, I wasn't a learner, and I just wonder, when was the first time? Because you've been in the same, you and I are in the same company. We've been in the same company. You've been in for longer than me. But when do you think the first time you read this was, and what struck you about it?
Well, I have to tell you, Dan, I heard Og Mandino speak at a convention way before I read that book. Okay. So I heard him speak, and at this particular convention, there were 6,000 people in an arena. And I've never experienced this before, where a speaker can have 6,000 people bawling their eyes out. Like, he was absolutely the most powerful, connected speaker that I'd ever experienced in my lifetime. Okay. So Og Mandino just blew me away. But for some reason, I never really dug into that book, and I never knew about it until you're the one that brought it up. And so, of course, oh my gosh, I love that book. I love the messages in it, and I love everything about it.
It's interesting. I met him one time in a small gathering, maybe 100 plus people in Calgary, Alberta, right after my wife and I were married. And it's rarely is there a man that was more authentic and genuine, humble and grateful, connected, in touch in every way. It's a really amazing thing, because in our day and age, very, very few people write in such a connected way, in a parable kind of way, in an old Israel kind of kind of story that is so, I mean, is there anything in this book that you think that taught you about sales techniques, or was it more about life and living and philosophies?
Well, the first thing I've realized when I got over, I used to think that I wasn't a salesperson at all. And then I realized that we all are salespeople, because I came from a corporate background.
Right.
And once I realized, if I had a new idea or a project I wanted to get funded, right, I had to be a good salesperson. So in anything we do, we are all salespeople. Even as a parent, sometimes we have to sell our kids on the idea of doing things, right? So we're all salespeople, but the scrolls, the messages are so right on for life. And everything that we do in life, starting with, I will greet this day with love in my heart. I think that one was so powerful because, for me, I literally felt things change when I read that, and I internalized that, because there's a part in that scroll that says, you'll greet people and secretly you won't say it out loud.
Right.
But secretly, you'll say to yourself, I love you. And the weirdest thing, and I know you know this, but when you do that, you literally get a different response from people. Like, people can feel things subliminally that you don't even have to say it. It comes out in your eyes.
I hope people will replay what you just said, because we're talking about a book with one of the greatest titles, right? The title is like the greatest, right? Well, in my world, you're the greatest because of you stuck around when it wasn't so great. You fought every aspect of the entrepreneur, of being a salesperson. You just grinded for remind me, was it 12 years?
Yeah. 12 years.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that story, about going through that journey? Because to me, now that you have systems that are in place with your teams around the world, and you have different systems for different countries and different organizations, and you're there to support and funnel all that energy towards them. And so how do you find that now after well, just tell the story a little about grinding through those 12 years.
Well, when I started, I simply had a dream, and I followed my inner voice, my intuition, that I needed to do this, even though it didn't make, on the outer world, it really didn't make sense. I had no sales skills. I had no network marketing skills. I was kind of anti-network marketing, to tell you the truth. But I knew that I needed to do this. And so I jumped in, and then it was an interesting time. I'm really glad that I did jump in. So glad. I'm so grateful. This was the first company that I was really introduced to that really made a lot of sense to me. And when I made a decision early on that I would never quit, and I think persistence, Og talks about that. I will persist until I succeed. If you go into any venture with that type of attitude, you will succeed. And that was the attitude I had, but I did struggle, and I did have a lot of challenges along the way. Every day certainly wasn't perfect, but I then had a defining moment. And I began again, which is it's really, I think it's the first scroll, right? I began again, and we have to be willing to begin again. Okay. So that was something, I call it a surrender. I surrendered to all the things that I had been resisting. And I decided to really just go with it and have fun and create the things that I needed. I needed to have my life end without regret. Like, that was my biggest fear of all. When I went through all my fears, because I had fear of public speaking. I said no to you at one point, the first time. I had fear of rejection, fear of looking silly, all the fears. I had all the fears, but the bottom line, when I started to really dig inside, was my biggest fear, the fear that I could not live with, is to go to the end of my life with regret. I could not stand the thought of being at the end of my life with a coulda, shoulda, woulda. If I really tried, I could have done it. No, that wasn't going to work for me. And so I knew that I needed to change. I knew that it was me. It wasn't anything outside of me. It was 100% me. And once I took on that responsibility of taking on that 100%, which I thought was going to be heavy, it's the opposite. It's light. It took the weight of the world off of me, because I knew that once that happened, what happened is I realized that I could change. I'm the only person that I have control over. I don't have control of anybody else but me. And so once I realized that I could do whatever I wanted to do, if I was willing to go through whatever fire I needed to go through, I was willing to suffer. I was willing to be uncomfortable. I was willing to be laughed at. I was willing to do all of that because I needed to get to the other side. But here's the good news, is it doesn't take that long once you make the decision to actually, if you're willing to go through the fire, to get to the other side, to really experience the joy of what it is in life when you take on that full responsibility.
Wow. The comments and the people that are jumping in here, people I don't know, maybe there are people that work with you, but let's unpack that for a minute, because I put a post on my personal Facebook page the other day as I was rereading a book called The Path of No Resistance. And it was so interesting what you just said about all of those things. I mean, there's so much there. I got to go re-listen, take notes. But the quote that I put on my personal Facebook page was, if you're allowed to sit still, a glass of murky water becomes clear. And so to that stillness and overcoming and going with the flow, and you said so many things there, I couldn't even possibly recap it. But for those that might be joining us late, my name is Dan McCormick. We're on the Greatest Salesman podcast. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. It's on iHeartRadio or iPod or Apple, Spotify, all those things. I hope you guys will download it, listen, share, whatever. We're just here each and every week with the greatest salespeople in the world to inspire and hopefully teach and share. And certainly know that one of the sponsor of the show is the Augmandino Company, just so you know. The sponsor of the show literally gives a free assessment to see if your thoughts are aligned with the thoughts of Augmandino. So you can simply go to that link that's flashing across the bottom of the screen right there. It's habitfinder.com/podcast. And I've had Dave and Paul, in my life for many, many years. And you've heard me talk about them. And we talk about not only the book, but how do we align our thoughts? Not what we're thinking, how we're thinking. Are our thoughts connected in the right direction? Are we overstimulated one way? Are we comparing, or are we not going to surrender? So you actually took that today, I think.
I did. I took it today.
You had an assessment today. You were able to look at and see if your thoughts, and it was interesting because, well, nobody's ever wrong. There's just things in our life where we might shift a little bit. And hopefully our listeners today will feel free, if they're inspired, to go take the assessment at habitfinder.com/podcast. And you can share with us at a later date your results there. And one of our coaches may call and give you a free little debrief on that. It's a fascinating thing because Aug's work is deep. It's very thought-provoking. And so you mentioned several scrolls, and there's a lot of people that are mentioning several of the scrolls. You mentioned, I will greet this day with love in my heart. And people mention that in the comments here. People are always mentioning the ones that kind of come to mind for them. And so you and I, when I called you last week, and you said, you're really diving in on mindset. And you said, have you read Joe Vitale's work, who was in the movie The Secret, who I just watched the sequel called The Dream something last night. But you asked me if I had read Money Loves Speed. And I'm bringing this up. Okay, there you go. And you got your greatest salesman in your iPod, I know, in your podcast or in your iPad. But last week, speed came up. And, when you think about money loves speed, success loves speed. Speed loves simplicity. This book to me is so simple. It is so invigorating. And I just wonder, you said you're really going on a deep dive in that space. Talk to us about that. And you gave me this recommendation with a lot of enthusiasm.
Well, I'm a little obsessed right now with Joe Vitale. I'm reading a lot of his books, but obviously the title of this was very appealing. So I got it and I started to read it. And it was so fascinating because if I look at my life and I look at so many of the, when things went right or the best, it's when I followed my inner voice and I call it my intuition. It's kind of the way I see it. It's spirit talking to me. And it happens a lot, but when I follow it, sometimes I don't. I'm rebellious. Okay, I'm rebellious and I'm stubborn and I'm Irish, right? So sometimes I don't want to follow it, but I know when I do, it's magic. And so the way he described how we get messages and speed is important. Every time I've acted urgently, and of course, that is such an important skill to take that on, to act urgently. And it's so fun because on our team, it's like now we're like money loves speed, money loves speed. Like my message is like, don't worry about falling flat on your face, right? It's like fail forward. Like it's okay on our team to make mistakes. It's okay for people to go out on a limb and make mistakes. It's okay. We make it okay because to me, speed's more important. And we're going to make mistakes. When you go really fast, you're going to make mistakes. But it's really important to act. And when you act, things can happen in your life that they're out of left field. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, you said you had Alan on this podcast. Right. How he came into my business was totally this concept. It literally, like, the name of the person, his sponsor, came into my mind. I acted urgently, quickly that week, met with him that week, signed him up that week, got Alan on the phone. And it was just magical. And that when I look at every situation that's been massively successful, whether it's the person coming in to my life or to the business or a situation, it's this acting on a hunch or an intuition, but acting, urgently. And it's something that not too many people do, quite frankly. It's something that we all should be doing more of, and have fun with it and be okay if you fail or look silly or people say that's crazy. In fact, I think if you tell me I'm crazy, that's a compliment. Okay. Yeah. Don't tell me I'm normal. I don't want to be normal. Normal is boring and normal is broke, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't want to be normal. I want to be crazy.
I love it. Alan actually talked about that in his show. He says, crazy people make crazy money. And that is such a great thing. And I hope that we can come and talk more about this. So, you actually taught me something so invaluable because, okay, I've got the book right here, but I've got the scroll right here that is the companion to this book, and no one even knows it because he says, I will act now. I will act now. I will act now. I mean, he tells you so many parable stories to the acting now. And I think really that if Og were alive today, he could put read Money Loves Speed at the bottom of this page because they work together and it's so beautiful. I hope everybody goes and rereads I Will Act Now. It's one of my favorite links. We used to give out the link, habitfinder.com/act now, because that's my video page where you can see my video and my thoughts about all this stuff. But I got to tell you, I love it because when I study the Bible or other scriptures and I find a principle that makes great sense to me, I look for cross references to that scripture or that teaching. And what I found here was a cross reference to the two. And I Will Act Now is scroll 9. Money Loves Speed is just absolutely fantastic. It just came out, I want to say January of this year, I think. February, maybe. it was a book that came out right before the darn world changed. And lo and behold, you got me to read it. And everybody, I just take pictures of the book and I just text it to friends while I'm reading. I mean, because you know how we are. When we like something, we tell everybody about it, right?
Right.
So it's a beautiful thing. How have you gone about utilizing, okay, in the book, I love Arthur Patton's comment about what is money, because we really want to talk about it's a place people get stuck. And I love how he talked about in one of his podcasts. It's kind of like some people have a weight set point. You know, they're stuck. I was teasing a buddy of mine the other night. I said, some people get a weight set point. Maybe they're stuck at 200 pounds. He says, Dan, I'm stuck at 200 pounds. And so he talks about this money and how we use it as an appreciation. You don't look at the gas and say, hey, it's $4 a gallon. What a bummer. Instead, you would say, how incredibly blessed am I that I get to fill up my car and not even think about it? Or this is great that I have the money to fill up the car, make the house payment, buy these products that I love for my hair, my skin, my teeth, whatever. So talk to us about some of your thoughts as you read the book.
Oh my gosh, so many thoughts. We have, for me, what really brought up, there's so many money limitations that we are raised with. I mean, I was raised with incredible parents that were entrepreneurs that had huge vision, and they still instill with some of the paradigms because they were raised during the Depression. They were raised in a time when money was very, very, tight. There were rations. This was a time in the history of our country that was, very difficult time. If you were a child during that time, you would make up stories that you would then pass on generations. And so we have a lot of people that have been raised by parents that were raised during that time, and that gets passed through generations. So if you look at those as limiting beliefs, which they are, and you look at them like, is money scarce? No, you have to look at the limiting belief. And we've been doing a lot of training on our team about limiting beliefs and blowing up limiting beliefs, because we have limiting beliefs about money, which I feel like holds a lot of people back in their life, in this business, in so many things, is limiting beliefs about money and what they're worth and what they can create and what they can have in their life. Like every single thing, you should be able to just blow up and say why. It's not reality. But we also have limiting beliefs about ourself that money can trigger, our worthiness. Whether we deserve it, that type of thing. And I think most people have limiting beliefs in some way around, kind of deserving. And so it's an opportunity to really look at that and blow it up. I mean, we're doing a lot of work on limiting beliefs and getting our head out of that. And it's really reprogramming the subconscious, which each and every one of us has the capability to do. Reading the scrolls, you're working on your subconscious. That's what, Og's, to bring it back to Og, his habit of reading those scrolls 3 times a day. I mean, that is to reprogram your subconscious. So if somebody simply read those scrolls 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, you literally would transform who you are. I mean, you would transform almost everything about your life, which is incredible.
We have an international audience chiming in: Canada, Scotland, America, Samoa. It is so great to have everybody here. It's episode 19 on the Greatest Salesman podcast. We're here every Wednesday at 2:00. You can download the app. If you have a podcast app, you can listen to us each and every week. Our guests bring out unbelievable, amazing things that validate these teachings of the Greatest Salesman book. And I think you're right. I think you just absolutely crushed it. And that is, I've been, essentially, so I basically wake up almost every day for 38 years thinking I will greet this day with love in my heart. But I've got a new mantra now because you helped me. And I want to thank you for that, because I think you're helping our audience and you're teaching them that money loves speed, and you need to act fast. If you see a contact, if you see a name in your phone, like when I'm driving down the street, I have a habit in my life. I hit my contact file and I call whoever I haven't talked to in 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years. And I mean, occasionally I'll find someone that's dead, and that's a sad day. But the fact is, act now, be a friend. Og would teach you to be a friend. But this is now part of my daily mantra. Money loves speed because success loves speed, but speed loves simplicity, as Justin Prince said back maybe 2 months ago on the show. It is so fascinating to think about this concept because so many people are stuck. And yet, Eileen, we're seeing the direct selling world right now blow up. The entire world of direct selling companies, thousands and tens of thousands of people are registering with companies in the direct selling space right now every single day. And so when you think about what's happened in the world, money loves speed, success loves speed, and then you follow it with simplicity. So let's talk about your daughter for a minute. Is that okay?
Sure.
I don't know if Ashley's watching or not, but when I saw her hone in on a single product that was something everybody needs, everybody wants, everybody sees results with, and you saw her, she was diligent and rigid in her approach, not going to be flexible at all with her simplicity. I think that's a really amazing thing, isn't it? And money just started pouring in for her because money loves speed, and she kept everything simple.
Well, it was extraordinary what she did, really, because I'll never forget, it was February 20th, 2017. She had actually just had a baby. Baby was 6 months old. So she was actually experiencing a little of postpartum depression. She had not been successful in the business. Quite frankly, she copied me and struggled for 11 years. I didn't want that to happen, but it did. But she had her defining moment after she really hit rock bottom of having a really, that's it moment. Like, that's it. I'm never going to be the same moment, which is what happened exactly with me as well. And I'll never forget sitting with her because I was in Argentina. She had called me to tell me that she had made a decision that she was going to do this in a big way. And I could hear it in her voice. I mean, she'd never sounded like this before. I could tell that something was different. And when I came home and we sat down on March 1st and we talked about what she wanted to create, she wanted to go to it. She wanted to reach a success trip. She had to create an extraordinary amount of results within 31 days. And I said to her, I looked at her in the eye, I could see the fear in her eyes. And I said, Ashley, will you promise me one thing? Just one thing I want you to promise me. I want you for 31 days to never entertain doubt. Can you do that?
Wow.
For 1 minute, anytime that doubt comes into your mind that it can't be done, because this was like climbing Mount Everest. It was asking her to do something she'd never done before. Can you promise me that you will not entertain doubt for the 31 days? And when she said yes, I knew that she was going to have a magical 31 days. And she did two things. She did the first thing. She said, I'm going to sign her goal. Her goal was to sign up one new person a day, just one. That was her goal, one new person a day. And the second goal was at the end of the day, when she was wiped out, she's a new mom. She's tired. She's in bed. We're on our phone all day, right? When she was ready to throw in the towel, every day she would force herself to do just one more thing, one more message, one more text or whatever. And she got into the habit of pushing out her limit day by day, inch by inch. And I saw her create a momentum. Her goal was to sign up one a day. By that 18th, I think she signed up like 18 people that day. I mean, there was so much momentum because of the willingness to just simply do those two things that she had never done before. So yeah, if you keep it simple, you got to keep it simple. I mean, I have a tendency to want to complicate everything. I mean, I'm human, we think we're so smart. We're like, oh, we're going to come up with all kinds of creative ideas. No, let's reel it back in and just keep it simple. And if we can keep it simple and just go for it, act urgently, but act now, and suspend disbelief. That came out of a book have you ever heard of U Squared?
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Suspend disbelief. If you suspend disbelief and you really act in full faith, faith is the most powerful force in the universe. Yeah. Faith. And if you can act in faith that you will have it, and you don't know how you're going to get it, but you will act in faith that you will have it, magic happens. And it's fascinating, it's powerful, and I love it.
Man, you're the first person to ever bring up U Squared in the podcast era of my 19 shows. And I got to say that when he says in that book, it's just a simple little read, everybody. It's just a tiny little book. It's brilliant. It's just right over my shoulder over here. I'd grab it if it made sense. But if you're going to doubt something, doubt your limits, he says.
Exactly.
I love it. He's got such a U Squared. I mean, it's like you just said, faith is the most powerful thing. Napoleon Hill wrote about that, right? In Think and Grow Rich. I mean, all of these things kind of come together in this incredible title of a podcast show called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And I hope people will go to thegreatestsalesman.com. You can see the website. You can see all the different shows. If you're new to us, hope you'll listen to it. Take the assessment, habitfinder.com/podcast. Measure these thoughts. Take a look inside your life and say, are you creating limits? I think that if you haven't found a rhythm of simplicity in your life that Ashley found, there's maybe reason, as our guest last week said, he said something along the lines of, there was no evidence in my life that I was going to be this guy, and all of a sudden, all these things came together, kind of like you, 11 years of just kind of plodding along, and then boom, everything hits this crescendo. And life can't be lived in crescendo all the time. You're living it right now. Your business spans, how many countries would you guess your business is in now?
I don't know, 30 or so. But Dan, I just want to make sure I get this in, because it just came to me and I'm following my intuition. I want to really thank you, because when I was going through my defining moment, you were one of the people that really inspired me. You had just recently joined the business, and what you came in and created, and you were always just so genuine and nice. And I just want to thank you for, being you, and also always staying in the game. And, I love it. I just love it. And I just have so much gratitude for you and what you've brought into my life. I mean, you've affected my life, which is rippling out across the planet.
God bless you. Thank you. That's just very, very kind of you. And I love it too. I mean, we're addicted to this. Okay. I don't think either one of us have this vision that, man, one day we're just going to live on a private island and we'll never have to talk to anybody anymore, because then we're going to go, wait a minute, that's the joy of the journey is share. I mean, we got Sharon over there in Scotland. We got Gabby, greetings from American Samoa. We got Northern California. We got people all over the world. And if there's just a little pebble that drops in their pond and we can start the ripple, what a beautiful thing to have my friend Stefan McNeil on right here. Just there, he just said amen right on the screen. I've known Stefan for close to 30 years.
Wow.
And I mean, it's just amazing to know him and his family, and to others that are on the journey. So you're very kind to say that. It's fun to share the journey. I feel like we're kindred spirits in the journey. Both of us love the game. But I want to go back in closing to how you started, because I think one of the great things that I ever learned from the E-Myth, from that great book called The Entrepreneurial Myth, is that there are no techniques for closing in the world of Og Mandino, but there certainly are techniques for opening. And you shared it. And that is to say right here, I'm greeting that person with love in my heart, You can see it in their eyes. You can feel it in your delivery. You're so genuine. And you started off our show with those three things, and you said faith. You clearly validated that by coming back to that just a moment ago. And then the gratitude part, you shared what you thought I meant to your life. So thank you for that. And then let's close with revisiting number 3. The thirst continues. It's like, I mean, I got the Yeti right here. I mean, we're constantly thirsting, and you know, Stephen Covey taught me that valuable principle that when you wake up every morning like we do, and you start with your gratitude journal, or I start with my journal and my notes, if you go a day without it, you might live. 2 days, you might live. 3 days, you're really hungry. You're starving for that stuff. So maybe a few words to those in closing that can thirst. And Dave said it on my podcast, on one of my other shows a week ago last Saturday. He says, Dan, I interviewed a doctor one day, and he says, I can almost taste it. I can almost touch it. You know, it's right there. Talk to us to maybe that group of people that just haven't tasted it yet. The thirst, the drive, the consistency you show in life.
Well, I think it starts with a big dream. I think we're all given dreams. Part of our job is to know that we've been given a dream for a reason, and it's probably a lot bigger than each and every one of us think our dream is. So I'm constantly pushing out bigger, 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 and I do that with my team as well. But I just want to. You know, Nathan was so great when he would talk to and he would describe this. He wanted to go to the end of his life, like squeezing everything out of it, right? So that's kind of how I feel too. Like, I don't want to save myself for the later years of whatever, sitting in a rocking chair. I mean, I want to, we're feeling good. We've got energy. There's so much to learn, and just for everybody that, you know, start somewhere. The thing about the learning and the growing is I get introduced to a book or whatever. If it appeals to me that moment, I go onto Amazon, I buy it.
Instantly.
I have so many books, and it's crazy. But I'm like, okay, I heard it, I gotta get it.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to be inspired. There's so many amazing stories out there of people that have had incredible journeys, probably much more difficult than any of us, right? So it's constantly about lifting each other up and helping inspire people along the way. It's fun. That, to me, the personal development is, I love it. I just love, love, love it.
God bless you for taking the time to be with me today. You always answer the call. Since you said no to me the first time 18 years ago. She said no, folks. She says, no, I'm not coming on your show. I'm not ready to talk to you.
I was afraid. Can you imagine? I was afraid to be on a conference call, and now we're doing webinars that are global. It's pretty funny, but it was real too. It was a real fear. Alan could tell you sometime. It was so funny. I'd be at a conference, and I would have a death grip on his arm because I didn't want to go up on stage. It was horrible. Anyway, we get through our fears if we're willing to suffer a little bit and feel the pain. And once we do, though, that willingness brings us to the other side where we discover the reason we had to do it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, you guys, whatever you're afraid of, this is my lesson. It's signaling you to tell you what you must do. If you're afraid of something, you must do it. It's telling you there's something for you to learn there, and you have to do it. So you have to push yourself to do the things you're afraid of.
Wow. I can't wait to re-listen. I tell all my guests every week, I can't wait to re-listen. It's just so much fun to re-listen when I'm not interviewing, and I can take more notes. And if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can put your comments in the box here, and you can share this to your page, and you can take the assessment. Eileen gave us what I think is as rich of content as you can get. And Eileen, one other thing that I do, because I ordered the book the moment you told me about it, and I had friends that started ordering the book because I hadn't read the book. But what I now do is I go to podcasts and I just say, who's on podcast talking about, I want to hear the podcast before the book gets here. And I'm listening to stuff from Joe Vitale that, he's on shows and the computer was dying on people. I mean, there's all kinds of stories, but I want the information, right? I want to get a jump start. But the book, to be able to take the notes and dog-ear the pages and highlight. And I try to underline and circle every point in the book that he says, money loves speed. Every time I'm just circling. Money loves speed, money loves speed, money loves speed. And then back to scroll number 9. I will act now. Thank you for acting now and joining me today, Eileen.
Thanks for asking, Dan. It's been fun to be with you. Hope we helped a few people.
Oh my gosh, I know you helped me. That's a beautiful thing. Everybody, we're certainly grateful for your participation today. She's Eileen Williams from San Diego, California. You can find her on Facebook. You can find, obviously, you can connect with her there if you want to reach out to her. I'm Dan McCormick in Coto de Caza, California, signing off today, episode number 19 on the Greatest Salesman in the World podcast. Bye for now.